Hey guys, this is Eric Weingartner with Weingartner Racing. Probably one of my earliest videos, I said what not to do when porting, and that's been probably one of my most popular videos I've done too. I think it has over 250,000 views, but not everybody watches it because if they did, this wouldn't have happened. So what we have here is this is a customer's heads. I did not port these. I don't even know who ported these, if you can call it that, but they pretty much ruined this head, but as far as performance-wise goes. But there's a bunch of things I get to talk about in this. So anyway, he must not have watched the video, because if he had, he wouldn't have done this. So what was the thing, the biggest takeaway from what not to do when porting a set of cylinder heads? Well, this is it. So I've got my pointer here. This is me trying to do the valve job. You'll see what I mean in just a second. If you don't know what it is and you're looking at it, you're like, I don't see what the problem is. What we don't do when porting is remove too much of the area around the throat. For those who don't know what the throat is, the throat would be right past the valve about here, all the way across to here, and this way too. This is called the throat area. Because essentially what we're doing is we're creating a venturi. Think of it like an hourglass. We're creating an hourglass inside of the port. And what you do is you just created a straight tube, which sounds like, well, straight flow is better than an hourglass. Nope. Because what happens is that air's got to turn this way, right? It's got to make the turn. So having that little, narrowing that we have for the venturi helps the air turn into the chamber this way and also this way and this way and this way. It's not coming straight. So if it did, we need these angles, the turns, what I'm trying to get at. What this person has done is they've removed them all. The only one that's left is the seat. So I'm getting really close here. This is the seat angle, which you're like, I can't even see an angle. It's right there and the camera sucks, but that's it. And if you notice, it's thinner here than it is here. Yeah, what they essentially did is they took maybe a stone or something, because you could tell it's cast down here, but here they like, you know what, get more flow, remove all this material right through here. And that's what they did. So they took it all the way up to the 45 degree. That's where the valve sits. So there's no undercuts. This might give you a better idea. This is one I've done a valve job on, and hopefully the light will capture it right, which it looks like it's probably not. Camera's not focusing. Okay, there's a better view. This is the seat angle. This would be the undercut. We like to have angles underneath this so it helps the air turn. This wouldn't be so bad because you got an undercut, so one angle underneath, you got your seat angle, and you got top cut. But trace this over, it ends. And now there's a fart of a hair of an undercut right through here. So I've got, this is the seat and nothing, straight into nothingness. Straight into nothingness. Don't do that. That's how you do not port heads that way. That's how you absolutely ruin a head. Ruin a head. Don't do that. So don't come straight off the 45 and straight down. You keep especially a sharp edge right here. And the air hits that and it actually bounces against it and then comes back up this way, actually closing the area down that the air can actually flow, and it sucks on the flow bench. Why? Because I have a flow bench, I can tell you that. So don't do that. It's a bad idea. Now, one of the other things I've also mentioned about before, and people actually questioned me and said I was lying when I said this, and not too many people actually say that, but they said, I had said cast iron heads crack, doesn't matter. It's going to crack, it's just a matter of time. And people were like, they do not. That's only, GM Vortec heads, aftermarket heads don't crack. I said every time I've seen the cast iron head, they'll come back and eventually they're going to be cracked. Even aftermarket Dart Iron Eagles, it doesn't matter. And here's our proof. Doesn't look like it's cracked, right? This one actually has a farts of a hair, little undercut here. But I told you, aftermarket heads are notorious from cracking right across from where the seat goes in. Let me get a camera here, will hopefully focus. Nope. Apple's, I can make the phone better by making it worse. There we go. Let me grab my pointer here. Hopefully you'll get a chance to see it. Look for a line right there. If only the phone would focus. There we go. There. See it? Right there. That's a crack. Right there. Goes all the way across. Now, before you're like, oh my gosh, that's going to leak water. Here's the thing with this. There's no water in between on an aftermarket head. And it doesn't go all the way across to this because aftermarket heads put in a steel seat. So the seat's fine. It's not cracked through the seat. It's from where the seat got pressed in, heat over time, crack. Happens. That's what happens. So this is a steel insert. The crack's not coming over this way. It's just on this side. So you're like, oh my gosh, the head's ruined. No, it's runnable. There's many circle track heads I redid and had that crack. And I was like, just run it. It isn't going to grow. It's just going to be about the same. It just is what it is. You're like, well, what about sealing? It may not seal quite as well, but not enough in the run cycle to make a difference. More air gets past your ring gap than gets past that deal, just for the record. And now, since the camera's actually working right, you can kind of get a better idea of what I'm talking about. There we go. Now you see what I mean by the farts. There's my 45 degree, and there's hardly any undercut because they removed it all. Don't do that. Here's what makes it worse. Going over to the other head that's on the meal. They didn't do it as bad on this head. This one actually has undercut, except for right through here. So the two heads aren't even the same. So you're like, what are you gonna do to fix it? Not a thing. Because the only thing to make them equal would be make this head worse. And that seems dumb. But anyway, so what not to do? Well, hopefully you know now what not to do. Don't do that. Don't grind all your angles away. Bad idea. Guys, thanks for watching. Remember, I'm no Superman. Sounds like I'm condescending, but I sure hate when people ruin heads. Because, especially for this guy, he has specifically run a cast iron head for his class in circle track. There's not that many that are left out there. So when people ruin them in the hopes of making more power, it's painful. From my standpoint, I hate seeing good stuff just get ruined. Because these might actually be a decent head. I'd actually flowed these initially, because I never flowed this head. Because what this head is World Products. I think it's the Motown 220 head. And I've never had one on my flow bench. And I was really looking forward to flowing this. And I flowed it already. But I didn't I was going to make a video, but I didn't because I saw someone else that altered it. And that wouldn't be fair to anybody that happened to get a Motown 220 and be like, oh my gosh, they flow horrible. When in fact, the ones that hadn't been touched will outflow this. Because this guy made it worse than what it was stock. But now I don't have those numbers. So anyway, guys, remember, I'm no Superman. You guys, I don't pour cast iron heads. Take care.